Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Just a sort of watering day today. I'm doing all the mounts and the Vanders, obviously. I always do, and I don't think there'll be any changes in amongst those. But I'm also having to go round. Quite a lot's been repotted recently, and the Orchiata bark dries fast when it's new. So some things are getting watered quite a bit more frequently than they normally would, just to try and hydrate that bark. Once it settles down, 3 or 4 weeks of sort of keeping it relatively moist and then letting it dry, it will get back to its normal sort of drying speed. But at the moment it's drying fast, so I'm picking up a few things. So I will notice some changes in amongst those possibly. This is the Prosthetia radiata that we split in a repotting video not so long ago, and that's a spike, and hiding down in here is another one. So both of the pieces on the latest matured growths are pushing spikes now, and both of those pieces have nice new growths coming on them. If I can get down there. Yeah, and new roots. So they'll be okay as a split. They lost part of the old part of the plant, which does set them back a trifle, but I don't think these two pieces are going to get set back hardly at all, because of the two new growths and the fact that they push roots out on those new growths as they start to grow, not immediately. And yeah, I think these two are going to do okay, but they're both going to flower, so that'll be nice. Fragrance on that is stunning. Not exactly brightly coloured or anything huge. The flowers are almost nondescript. They're nice, they're pretty, but they're not big. And I forget how many I get on a spike. It has bloomed for me before, but we shall see. Anyway, two coming on there. It's another two that were in a sort of repotting and split up video, getting rid of old parts of the plant. This is Coelogene fimbriata, I think. Where's me mounted one? That's got the label on. I haven't done tags for these yet. Yeah, fimbriata. That's the mounted one up there. It's obviously its time of year for growth. New growths are pushing on well, and the new growths are already larger than any growths I've had on this plant, and I think, quite honestly, it's just breathed a sigh of relief to get out of that horrible, smelly, manky media, because these new growths haven't stalled one bit. They're racing. They really are pushing on at a rate of knots. So I think both of these pieces now are probably going to fill these pots, and there is no reason whatsoever why I shouldn't get quite a lot of blooms on these come the autumn. It's an autumn bloomer. I think it's sort of October time, something like that. But yeah, so these pieces that were just sort of randomly scattered in the pots, they're coming on well. And as I say, those new growths have pushed on since repotting. Normally I'd expect them to stall for a while, but they're just going. They're just racing on. So I think we should have two good potfuls there. Pleased with those. Now this is what is it? Encyclia Cordigera. Come on, brain. This perpetuates my theory that while this type, I'll call it an Oncidium type, even though it's an Encyclia, they still have similar patterns. That while they've got flower spikes on, there's something in the plant that says, I'm doing flowers at the moment, I'm not doing new growths. Now these spikes have been off a while now. We've got a new growth in the middle there. That's a daft place to have one, but we'll take any. Got an embryo new growth just pushing there. That's on the same bulb. Then on this bulb we've got one here. We've got another one down there. And on this bulb we've got one here. So effectively there's at least 5 new growths coming now, and I still believe that the new growths are triggered by the blooms being taken off without being pollinated. The plant seems to know it's lost its ability to perpetuate its species because its flowers have gone with no seed, no pollination. And so it thinks, well, I need more flowers then. To get more flowers I need new growths. So it starts to push them out. Now I've got to be careful with this one because it had a solid mass in the middle of it when I got it, and all I did was put it in a bigger pot to allow any new roots to get into some decent media, bearing in mind the centre of this pot will not have live roots in it, I'm confident. But I want to repot this at a good time, knowing that any new roots that start I'll see. Whoops, let's see if I don't throw the plant on the floor. So I've got to keep my eye on this one now. I've got to time this one nicely. With that many new growths, at some point pushing new roots, the plant will be seriously invigorated by giving it some nice new media and cleaning out the centre of the plant and getting rid of all the dead bits. So we'll have to keep our eye on that one. Lovely blooms on that. They lasted ages, absolutely ages. All that empty space. Yeah, it doesn't stay like that long, does it? That's because they're all down here and all down here. That lot. I've all got to go back up there in a minute. The way I water is I take a plant off its shelf, I water it, and I put it to one side until I've cleared the shelf. Then I start putting them back. It allows them to drain into those little plastic trays, and I can then empty those plastic trays before I put the plants back. Works for me. I'm getting fogged again now. But these Psychopsis buds are pushing on nicely now. That's what I meant to film. Both buds. This one's quite prominent now, and this one's coming on behind. But a bit of good news, we have a growth. Now, I don't suspect that to be a new spike. That's going to be a growth, and that's good, because that was its last new growth, which wasn't very strong, and still isn't. But nonetheless, it was a new growth, sitting in absolutely broken down media, frightened to death to repot it, because it says they hate root disturbance, and yet others say, just get on and do it, it'll be fine. So contradictory remarks again. But I've had enough of looking at that leaf, quite honestly, so scissors are always at the ready. I never know what I'm going to come across when I'm watering. So that leaf's coming off at the base. And back in there, ready for whatever else I do. I mean, what went wrong with that leaf is undetermined. But whatever it was pretty grim and pretty bad. And then it stopped. I mean, that was starting to get a bit soggy at one point, and I thought, shall I just take the leaf off? And I sprayed it with a fungicide, and basically, once that dried, it stopped it dead. But I don't want that leaf, it serves no purpose anymore. So the leaves I've got left are still not brilliant, but they're functional. This is what I love when you get a contradiction. Every Psychopsis new growth that I've managed to grow, which isn't that many, have always had a single leaf. But at some point, this plant was so happy, it put out 2 huge leaves on a new growth. And I've never been able to get it to do that. I mean, both of my Psychopsis are not that happy plants. But new growth here, I haven't seen any new roots under there, but I can see one. You're not going to see that. If I get it right on the end of my fingertip. No, you're not going to see it. But there is a new growth, a new root tip showing under here. So if it can produce some new roots, it'll pick the plant up. And that hopefully will be followed by that new growth, which will pick the plant up even more. But I don't think that bulb's ever going to be big enough to produce a spike. So we have to hope on that one to get a 3rd spike. I've lived with 2 spikes on this plant since I got it, and that was a long time ago. It's never grown a new spike, but the spikes I've got keep flowering, so that'll do. Quite honestly, this just gets too cold in the winter, and it knocks it back. And then it picks up again through the summer, the warmer temperatures, warmer nights and all that sort of stuff, and then next winter it'll get set back again. This is not a good plant for me to try and grow in here. It's a warm grower, not intermediate. Needs those warmer temperatures in the winter to keep it in active growth. And I get this stop-start thing with the thing. So anyway, we've got a new growth following on from that one. Oh well, something I suppose. This is the way some of the thought processes work. Having just had a look at the large Psychopsis, the Mendenhall, Hildos I think it is, the other smaller one, which is a species, as Papilio alba, variation alba, the last new growth that this put up was quite good. Yeah, the leaf as big as the others, not bad, and it's now swelling, so it's forming its pseudo bulb. But going from the way the other ones work, there is signs of new roots growing under the bulb as it reaches maturity, which is what this one is doing. Now I need to go and check my records and find out if and when I've ever repotted that. Because if that hasn't been repotted for a long time, that's the time to do it. So I'll have to get on with that. See, that one hasn't long been out of flower. The next bud's pushing on. You know, it's just perpetual, just keeps going. And this time of year, they really keep going. In the winter, they do slow down. So I'll have to go and check my records on that, because that would be a good time to repot that. Several of those bulbs are too deep in the pot for a start. They always have been. Yeah, it's been in a pot. If that's been in the pot quite a while, it's coming out and going in some fresh media to hopefully catch the new roots that are going to be produced now that that bulb's maturing. Who knows, down in there they may have already started, and I'll have to go ultra careful not to damage them, but I won't find out if I don't take it out of the pot. So I think that goes on the list to come out of its pot. I haven't got many left to do now. Been working hard. I don't film everything. Sometimes I have a real crack on and do 5 or 6 plants in one session fast, and filming it just slows me down, so I don't film everything that I repot. But I might film that one if I do it, maybe today, but I doubt it. Daughter down for the weekend again, so you're going to be very thin on the ground with the old videos probably till Wednesday next week, because it's a holiday weekend. We get Monday as a holiday, so she won't go back till Tuesday, so that's a travel day. So filming probably starts again on Wednesday after this one. Have a little break. No, take 5. It's not very often these are all out at the same time, but I've rearranged shelves and things so that these are now together, so that I can look after them in a similar fashion, because they're all similar. This is basically my Latorias. It's like 37 buses. I spent 2 years looking for the flipping things, and then they all come at once. That's my little young Nora Tokunaga, or Nara. One of those. I must rewrite that label because I can't read it, but it's in my notes. Nice new growth coming on that. It's a young plant, but it's pushed out a nice little root system over the last month or two. That's the one I've had the longest, so that one's coming on. This one isn't really a Latoria, this is the antelope type. But basically the treatment's the same, so I'm quite happy to keep it with those, and they're next to my Dendrobium phalaenopsis types. They're all similar treatments. Basically virtually continuous growers, like to stay moist and like to stay warm, so why not keep them all together? But the 2 new growths on this are pushing on like crazy. They're really good stuff, and there is no reason at all, given that this cane bloomed, yeah, there's no reason why those 2 shouldn't bloom. Really looking forward to that. That's that black antelope. So it's an antelope type, and yeah, quite looking forward to when that blooms. That would be pretty good. I'll get that one out of the way. What else we got then? This is my Roy Tokunaga White Knight. So it's a hybrid. Nonetheless, it's a good strong plant, and the latest growth since I got it, which was here, has pushed on quite nicely. It's new leaves are forming inside. It'll have 3, maybe 4. So that one's coming on. Don't see huge signs of new roots in there, but what I'm hoping for is some new canes to go with this one. That would be good. But we'll have to wait and see. As I say, these are all quite new to me. This is Alexandrae. Again, a nice little plant. I haven't repotted this. It's still in the pot that I got it in. This is its new cane. could bloom, it's possible. It's large enough. What's that? Oh, piece of leaf. God, thought that was an aphid for a minute. Perish the thought. Talking of aphids, you wonder how bugs get in your grow room. One of the cats has obviously been rummaging around in some undergrowth. Yes, not yesterday. One day this week. And he came in and sat down on the table where my computer is to say hello. And he was absolutely covered in large green aphids, a little tyke. And he sleeps in here. Well, he didn't that day. He got a flipping good brush to get rid of them. But yeah, you can see how sometimes, you know, bugs can take the most unexpected route to get into your area where your orchids are. That's my hair, not the cat's. And this last one, it's a good potful, this one. This is Polysema crossed with Aberrans. Picture of the bloom on this looked quite good. Because I haven't had Latorias long enough, I'm still not quite sure whether that's a spike that's not going to grow or a spike that is going to grow. And if it is going to grow, it's possible that one and that one will. No, that one won't. But yeah, because I haven't had them long enough, I don't know their growth patterns. I don't know how they work yet. But it's a nice looking plant, that's for sure. Yeah, so that's my little group of those. I've got them now, so the hunt is off, if you know what I mean. There's still one on the list that I'd like to get. If I come across a good one, I'll add it, you know, to the collection. But having gone so long without the Latoria types, I've now got some. So I'm happy with what I've got. So, and I'll live with what I've got. I'm quite pleased to have got some reasonable sized plants that look good, rather than the manky little tiny seedling types that you get with no roots and they're, you know, prone to die. But these are nice strong plants, so I'm pleased with these. Those are the Dendrobium phalaenopsis. They're not all brilliant plants, but all of them have got some good new growths coming on. One of them's even got a spike coming, although that particular one isn't mine. And that could be a spike. Yeah, they don't always just bloom from the apex, they can bloom from the sides as well, but it could be a kiki. But on a phalaenopsis, Dendrobium phalaenopsis, kikis are not common, so it's more likely to be a nice spike. We shall see. But what I did want to show you was this thing I can never get close to because it lives up the back. This is the spike on Catatanti, and there is just some colour showing on some of these buds, so it may not be as far away as I thought from blooming. But it's a hell of a spike, it's good. I've seen better, but you know, this was a poor plant, lost its roots, had to grow a new pseudo-bulb, and it's now pushing out roots. But yeah, so it's a recovering plant, so for that status, that's not a bad spike at all. To be cruel and kind to the plant, I should have cut it off, but no way. And also, Miltonia Sunset's got a spike. That wasn't there last time I watered it. They seem to push out at a hell of a rate, and that hasn't long been out of flower. So it flowers on every new growth without fail. It's doing well, and I mean that that basically was hidden under the jungle, under the leaves. I've just had to rearrange the leaves to give it some light, somewhere to head up to. But yeah, I mean, that's not going to be a magnificent spike. 2, possibly 3 blooms, but it's more Miltonia Sunsets. Nice flower. Nice to have that colour in the grow room again. So coming soon. Okay, hands up everybody who's had a Rhynchostylis gigantea bloom for them. Where do the bloom spikes come out? Is that a spike? What do you think? The pictures I've seen, they seem to come out lower down, sort of more at the base of the leaves. But it's a Vandaceous type, close cousin to the Vandas. And if it was a Vanda, I'd say it was a spike. But I've never got one of these to bloom before. What do you reckon? There's something down in there. Could be a bit of muck that's dropped in there from the plant above. So I'll have to wait for it to move, won't I? Yeah, it looks like a spike to me. Yeah, that'd be good. I've never had one of these bloom before. I suppose I'd better show you this. Talking about it long enough. It's just starting to open today. So those are the colours we're looking at. Not open properly yet, that bloom. Another one just breaking here. Another one here. So give that a few days and we'll have some blooms wide open. There's quite a few just breaking. That's the first one to open enough to see the colours. And the colour inside that lip, I'd forgotten just how intense that is. Probably be a day or two before the fragrance hits the grow room. But yeah, it's underway. Yeah, been a long time coming and now it's here. And the good thing is the actual growths on the top are coming on well. You know, those are pushing out nicely. Now the idea is to get those 3 canes as big as that one by the end of the season. That's a lot of growth. That's going to take a lot of water and some good feeding to achieve that. That's how I achieved that cane, a lot larger than its previous one. And that's what I hope to do with these up here. But it has been disturbed, it's had its roots disturbed, but I still think that's going to recover at great speed because of the new root system that those 3 canes will push out. So I think that should do well. And the sun's just come out. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Absolutely looking forward to it. It's a beauty. Look at that colour in the lip. It's so deep. Oh well, I'm sure that'll be in a few videos to come. Oh, I've got to crack on now. I've got to water all my mounts and it's well after lunchtime and I don't normally water them this late in the afternoon, but there is method in my madness. Depending on how the weekend is going to pan out, I may be doing travelling tomorrow and quite honestly nothing will get watered. So by watering them late in the day, their moisture will tide them over. We're not getting cold nights now, but I'm ending on this. And the sun is obliging me to allow me to get that backlighting, which is how those tiny little blooms look their best. Now I might have to play with the lighting on the editing software to get this right. But yeah, that little cluster opened today. And those are just starting to open. And now that I've seen those open, there's a wealth of these going to open very quickly, one after the other. Most of these down through here are going to be open with the... Now we're getting fogged. That's not quite what I had in mind. That'll mess the light up, won't it? Anyway, I'm really pleased. So, Dendrobium hercoglossum is gracing us with its presence, and I'll end on that for today. Videos, as I've said, are probably going to be thin on the ground, if at all, until Wednesday. It's a holiday weekend and I've got guests, or guest, so I'll probably be busy doing other things. We're going to hit the garden. Didn't get anything done in it last year and it's a bit overgrown. I mean, the hedge is so overgrown I've got a job to throw my orchids under it. See you next time. Bye for now.